Hello and welcome to Twisted Britain, a podcast on true crime in Britain with a sprinkling of the weird and the macabre. And your hosts are me, Bob Dale.
And me, Nadine Royal. We're a couple of friends who met in the pub and developed a friendship based on our mutual love of booze, podcasts and pub quizzes. We met in the Settle Inn in Stirling, and that's where we record.
Each week we'll both tell a story of something twisted, one long one and one short one, and we'll decide who goes first.
Based on the flip of a coin.
But before we go any further this evening...
Big special announcement. Well, big special congratulations.
Yeah, big Twisted Britain congratulations to one of our...
podcast friends.
Podcast pals, yeah.
Congratulations, Bethan and Chris, of course, on the amazing arrival of your beautiful baby girl.
Welcome to the world, Bella. Welcome to Earth. Let's go with that.
Okay.
Welcome to Earth from both of us. We're amazed to see you here, and we wish you the best of luck going into a true crime family.
Yeah, well, congratulations, Bethan and Chris. Honestly, absolutely beautiful, and we couldn't be more happy for you.
So, shall we?
Yeah.
Just crack on with our normal nonsense.
Let's go.
How's you? You all right?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm all right. We've not seen each other in a while.
I know it's been two weeks.
Yeah, it's been lovely.
Thanks.
I know. Sorry, I did that last time. Sorry about that.
I know. What's happened since?
I'm going to tell you a little story about my weekend.
Lovely. Go.
I'm a bit sore. So we had a big family party at Mum and Dad's house.
Oh, nice.
Dad's extended family came up. It was lovely. My cousin's wee boy has just started skateboarding.
Oh.
I was like, I'll take you to the skate park.
Excellent.
Now I'm covered in bruises.
Are you not as good as you used to be?
Apparently, being 37-year-old and trying to drop into a half pipe's a tricky thing to do. I've got a wonderful video of me absolutely wiping out.
Oh, can you please upload that?
Yeah, my brother filmed it, so I'll get it off him, and I'll stick it up, and you can laugh at me.
Excellent. My microphone's falling into my face.
So yeah, I'm literally covered in bruises, and the sympathy I got from everyone was, "Well, you're too old to do this. What's your issue?" So I'm now going to become a world-class skateboarder just to prove them all wrong.
Nice. Are you going to do some eggplants?
You're an eggplant.
That's the only skateboard trick I know. I'm going to do some eggplants.
Yeah, absolutely I am.
Tony Hawk.
A couple of aubergines.
Nice. Tony Hawk, yep.
What you been up to?
Well, I went down to England to my mum and dad's pub
yeah.
because it was their last weekend in the pub. And my brother came down as well, and my mate Kitty came with, and me and my brother just caused absolute carnage.
I've seen the photos.
Oh, I don't know. Did Kitty show you the photos?
Yeah, she did.
Carnage. There was at one point I got waterboarded by a pint of Guinness by my own brother behind the bar when we were meant to be serving customers.
Just a normal night then.
Yeah, usual. Had rum in my eyes. We managed to drink dry vodka, Bacardi, Malibu, Jägermeister, Morgan Spiced. What else did we run out of? Had no like mixers left, lemonade, Coke, all gone. There was this brilliant moment when my mum was serving and this woman comes to the bar and she's like, yeah, can I have a Bacardi lemonade? And mum was like, no, don't have any Bacardi left. And the woman goes, oh, right, well, I'll have a Southern Comfort lemonade. Mum's like, yep. Yeah, we don't have any lemonade left. Yeah, no. And she's like, right, well, I'll have a Southern Comfort and Coke then. Mum was like, yeah, no, we don't have any Coke left, no. And the woman was like, what can I have? And she was like, I don't really know, just whatever you can see. It's like, what's left?
You can have a pint of Guinness, you just have to drink out of Nadine's eyes.
Yeah, it was really good, actually. It's been good.
And that's the pub gone then?
Pub gone.
That's sad.
Bye-bye, Red Lion.
Yeah, bye-bye, Red Lion.
Sad and good at the same time.
That's what the Settle Inn used to be called, is it not?
Yeah, I think it's the third most popular pub name in the whole of Britain.
Oh, is that right?
I think the first ones are White Horse and White Lion, and then Red Lion. I think.
Right, okay, there you go. Pub facts. There we go.
Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I probably am.
Yeah, we'll look it up there. It's fine.
Nadine's facts wrong.
How was your research?
It was good, actually. So I came across a story, and I couldn't resist doing it. And I think you'll see why when I'm telling it. The title I'm going to ask you to give it is the reason I couldn't pass it up.
Okay.
You're going to love it.
We'll get to that when we start then.
Also, I know I'm meant to be on short, but it might be a bit longer than a normal short, but not as long as a normal long.
Fine. It's a medium.
I started digging in and I was like, well, there's a lot here, but I'm doing it now.
We'll go with it. It's fine.
How was yours?
Good fun. Yeah. I have done something a bit different this week.
I love how most weeks one of us will say, I've done something a bit different.
It's just becoming
normal. So now
normal
it's just normal.
So I've done something normal this week.
Okay.
Yeah, I've done. I'll not go into it too much, but I've enjoyed this a lot.
Good.
Actually, and I need your input. I've got a break in it specifically for Nadine's input.
Wow.
So
a space where I'm allowed to talk.
Yeah, get your listening ears on. You better be paying attention. So shall we?
Yeah,
just
flip it. Flip that coin. I'm saying heads. I go first.
Oh, it's tails. So I'll go. So I'm technically on long story, but we'll see how long you go for. So like I said, this is a bit different one. This is a case that's studied in criminal law as part of some universities' structures. It's quite a famous case, and it's set some benchmarks within the kind of legal structure for whether the claim of necessity in crime is a legal pardon. So this is the case of the Queen versus Dudley and Stevens. The Queen versus Dudley and Stevens being the Crown as prosecuting them. So the Queen herself isn't involved in this.
That'd be fabulous, though, imagine.
She just turns up and was like, it was them.
Everyone believes her.
Yeah, probably. So before I go on, I'm going to give you a bit of background and some information on utilitarianism.
Yep, thank you. That would be great.
And then I'm going to tell you the tale of Dudley and Stevens. And before I get to what actually happened in the trial itself, I want to know your thoughts on guilty or not guilty.
Okay.
Right? So the reason I'm doing it like this is I watched a Harvard University lecture by Michael Sandel, who's a professor of justice, and he posed his students the very same question. So what would you do in this scenario? And I know neither of us are particularly students of criminology, but I'm just interested to see if your thoughts on it are the same as mine, and actually the same as some of the students, because they were quite split on it. And we'll post a link to the video in the description or in social media. And
yeah, we'll do both.
So like I say, we'll see what your opinion is as we go along. So the reason I want to do a bit about utilitarianism is it's the foundation of the theory that revolves around this case. So basically, it's a theory in philosophy that states that morally the best action in a scenario is one that creates the most happiness, or as some write it, the most utility. And it's not necessarily the person carrying out the action that gets the benefit for it, but it's for the greater good as such. So basically, does my action make the most amount of people the happiest they can be? Jeremy Bentham, who's one of the leading researchers into this, used the words, the greatest good for the greatest number, as a summary of his research. He basically states that the human being, as a human being, we're governed by two outcomes, pain and pleasure. We like pain. Some of us like pain. We like pleasure, but we don't like pain. So the best outcome is the most amount of pleasure for the most amount of people. Right. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, if you do something and it makes lots of people happy and one person sad,
it's like the greater good.
Yeah. Is that okay?
Is it like that that thought experiment where if there's like a runaway train and it splits into two tracks, and on one side is one person and on the other side is three people, you should put it the way that there's one person because you'll only kill one person rather than the three.
Yeah, exactly that. Or somebody else asked me exactly that same question when I was talking about it to somebody last week, and they'd said something similar as one person on the track, or so it kills everybody on the train and one person on the track, or it just kills one person on the track. What do you do?
Yeah.
And and in that case, in utilitarianism, the greater good would be to kill one person and not everyone. Right, so the story of Dudley and Stevens. A British yacht, the Mignonette, built in 1867 and being 52 feet in length, which was designed for use on inshore waters, was bought in 1883 by an Australian man by the name of John Henry Want. He wanted the yacht to be brought to Australia, and being in the 1880s, how do you get said yacht to Australia? Well, you have to undertake an epic journey. It's around about 14 to 15,000 miles round the bottom of Africa, crossing the Indian Ocean. And I found a cool tool online where you can draw how long it would be, and it turns out that it's 21.5 thousand kilometres, which is about 15,000 miles. And I've taken a screenshot of that image, so I'll put that with this so you can have a look at where they would have gone. Anyway, so John Want managed to secure himself a crew of 4 to sail the yacht round the Cape of Good Hope to him in Sydney. So there was the captain, Tom Dudley, his first mate, Edwin Stevens, a sailor by the name of Edmund Brooks, and a cabin boy, Richard Parker, who was 17 or 18 years old. The four of them set off from Southampton on the 19th of May 1884, heading to Sydney, and around 6 weeks later, in the early part of July, they were around 1,000 miles off the Cape of Good Hope in open water. Now, I've specifically said they were in open water there because it wasn't inland, an inshore yacht. It wasn't designed to be sailing the seas. It wasn't a seagoing vessel, so they should have been tracking the coastline. But they found themselves 1,000 miles off the Cape when a storm hit them, and they had to abandon ship into a lifeboat. In the rush to get off the Mignonette, they only managed to gather 2 1-pound tins of preserved turnips. Yummy.
Quite like a turnip.
Yeah, a preserved turnip.
Though I call it Swede.
Yeah, a Swede. I was trying to be worldly,
Worldly.
with my use of turnip. I can't imagine a preserved Swede/turnip being.
Mash up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they managed to take the masher with them, though.
Carrot and Swede mash is my favourite, actually.
Oh, yeah. Haggis, neats and tatties.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. So here they are. They find themselves adrift in...
Haggis, tatties and preserved turnip.
I don't like
Another
turnips.
one for our Twisted Britain recipe book.
Oh, yeah, that's one I'm not going with. So yeah, here they find themselves adrift in the South Atlantic Ocean with 2 tins of preserved turnips, and they managed to last the first days without digging into the delicious turnips. But on the second night, they divvied up the first tin and received around 5 pieces each to try and last them the next 2 days. On the evening of the 9th of July, 4 days into their ordeal, they managed to catch a turtle. And using the meat they'd gathered from the turtle, and the remaining tin of turnips, they managed to stretch this out until they'd been in the boat for around 10 or 11 days. They'd tried on several occasions to try and catch rainwater for fresh water, because they'd run out of that as well. They weren't exactly successful with that, but they'd used the blood from the turnip, the blood from the turtle as a means to drink as well. By the time they had done 11 or 12 days in the boat, they had run out of all the food and the fresh water. They managed to last till they had been in the boat for 18 days, but at this point they hadn't eaten anything in 7 days, and they'd not had any water for 5 days. Parker, the cabin boy, was very, very ill at this time, having, against the advice of the others, been drinking seawater. It's at this time that, with no sign of rescue, Captain Dudley suggests that they draw straws, with the loser being sacrificed so the others could survive on their body.
Oh, I was going to ask, when you started, does somebody get eaten?
Yes. Somebody does get eaten.
Oh, shit.
Brooks, who was the sailor, was absolutely horrified by this suggestion and refused to take part. However, saying that, one of the sources I read said that he had lost drawing the straws and kicked off a fuss
loser.
and was like, I'm not being eaten. But either way, he basically refused that this was a sensible means to go about things. So Dudley made a deal with them that if by the following day they had not been rescued or seen another ship, they would revisit the matter.
Bench it for a day.
It's just, before we kill each other,
Let's just get another day.
We'll have a think about this for a day,
Yeah,
maybe?
sleep on it. I would not be sleeping. They'd kill me in my sleep and eat me.
So that night, whilst Brooks and the cabin boy were asleep,
Oh, no.
Dudley, the captain, spoke with his first mate, Stevens.
I like this idea that they had a meeting, but you're in a lifeboat together, so they're sleeping and you're over there going,
Come up this side. Come up this side and we'll talk about killing one of them.
I wish we could do like a pan round to 1 year so that people could get the full
I could probably do that.
with our fancy
Let's not promise that.
But like, hey, see how they're sleeping? I think that maybe we should just go ahead and eat them.
Maybe we should kill them before we eat them.
Yeah, okay.
Just wake up and somebody's chewing on your arm.
Gnawing on your leg.
So yeah, Dudley and Stevens discussed the fact that basically Parker, the cabin boy, was already dying, and that if they sacrificed him, they'd have a better chance of surviving and returning to see their families again.
I'd be lying if I hadn't already thought that.
I think you'd be daft to have not thought of that in this scenario. So the next day, there's still no sign of any boat or any sign of any rescue. So Dudley and Stevens decided that this time it was time to act. They suggested to Brooks that he go and take a nap. And with his back turned, now I've put in here complete speculation. There's no fucking chance he went to sleep. I'm guessing he just turned his back and sat at the other end of this tiny little boat to give him a bit of separation from the event that was actually about to happen.
Look away, Brooks.
Stevens held down the now frail and almost passed out Parker. Dudley said a prayer and put a penknife to the boy's jugular and killed him.
Wow.
They drank his blood to quench their thirsts and fed on his body for the next 4 days.
I'm so sure that if you drink blood, it makes you ill as well, though.
They weren't at the height of health at this point.
No, I know, but like I'm sure there was a fact. Oh, I'm sure there was a fact I remember when I was younger, there being a fact going around that if you like drank a pint of blood, like you just throw it back up, like it just makes you really ill.
Better than seawater, though.
Yeah, okay.
And they'd had already
get a bit of iron in you.
I'd imagine they will have done the Bear Grylls thing and drank their piss by this point. But there's only so many times you can drink the same piss before it just becomes like a yellow cable. The interesting thing I find here is that Brooks, who had completely gone, I think this is a terrible idea, I want nothing to do with it, did feed.
Well, of course you're gonna. It's done now.
Well, that's the kind of
it's done now.
He becomes.
You're not gonna sit there on your morals at the end of the other boat,
starving to death,
watching them drink blood, having all the fun, and you're sat there like, oh, I wish I could have some blood, but I've made a fuss.
I'm going to sit here and go, I told you this was a bad idea. So yeah, all three of them fed off the body and finished the blood. Now the reason they not let him die, because he was dying, was that the theory being that he would spoil, and if they killed him, they could at least use the blood fresh. Yeah. So after 4 days, they were spotted by a German vessel, and they were in a horrid state of malnourishment and weakness.
And covered in blood.
And probably had bits of a body left in the boat. They were incredibly weak, and the German ship took them on board and took them back to Falmouth, which would have been on their way back to Germany. Slight detour they'd been going through the English Channel anyway to go to Hamburg, and they'd stop at Falmouth to drop these guys off. So I'm going to pause here, and I'm going to ask you what you think should happen to them. So synopsis of the story: they've gone out, they've taken a boat that shouldn't have been in the water, got caught in a storm, into the lifeboat, eaten the turnips, eaten the turtle, decided that the only course of action so that they could be returned to their families is to kill the weak member of the group.
Do we know how long it's been?
So they were in the water 18 days.
18 days. Okay.
And where they were discovered after 22 days. So they were 3 weeks in the water.
So 18
floating.
days is when they kill.
Yeah.
Right.
18 days is when they kill him.
Can you remember how... You said when they ran out of turnips?
Oh, that was like day 8 or 9.
Right. So we've been a good solid 10-ish days.
So they hadn't eaten at the point where they first speak about drawing lots.
Yeah.
They hadn't eaten in 7 days.
7 days.
And hadn't had any fresh water for 5 days.
Okay.
So if we bear in mind the case of utilitarianism that I spoke about earlier, the greatest for the greater good, the good for the greatest number of people, and a crime of the necessity of the crime. What is your thoughts? Is it murder?
Well, yeah, it's always going to be murder.
Right.
You've killed somebody, so full stop, it's murder. It doesn't matter if it's for the greater good. Like the same way that I feel that if you what's the best example to use here?
So
say like the hanging of Hitler. I know that we didn't. I know that he died.
Yeah.
Or did he? But like say if we got Hitler.
Yep.
And we'd killed him, hung him for his crimes, which is like... no, that doesn't count because that's not... He was never going to do it again because he's going to be locked up.
So a crime of necessity, one of the most common ones floated in this idea is that a starving person steals a loaf of bread.
Right, yeah. It's still thieving.
Yeah.
You're still stealing. It doesn't matter what your ends are, but you've still stolen that loaf of bread. It's still a crime. But it's the punishment, I think, is what you need to look at rather than... Like, I don't think you should be locked up for stealing a loaf of bread. This isn't Les Mis, you know?
Indeed.
And, like, this is still murder. You've still killed somebody,
But what
even if
about
it's for the better.
What about the fact that they would have all probably died? if
No, I
they
know,
hadn't done that?
but it's still murder.
Yeah.
By
Yeah,
definition,
right, okay.
if that's the question.
So what do you...
Oh, I would have done it. Yeah, I would have eaten him.
You would have done it?
Yeah.
Do you think what they did was moral?
No.
You don't think so at all?
It's not moral. It's not morally right. Like, it's selfish.
So what if they had drawn lots?
And then that person, that'd have been fair.
You'd have been alright with that?
I'm all right with the first way, to be honest. Because I'm a selfish bitch.
To be honest, I don't know if you're the right person to have this conversation with.
Like, I wouldn't have been the one to kill him.
No,
I wouldn't have been like, I'll do it, fuck's sake. Or maybe I would have. I don't know what I'm going to be like after 7 days of eating.
Don't
I know what
eat.
I'm like after 7 hours of eating.
Say,
it's not pretty.
Don't eat till we record next and see if you just walk in and kill me.
With a penknife. It's your turn.
Yeah. So when I was reading this stuff, the first thing that jumps to my mind is all 4 of them dying is the worst outcome.
Yeah.
One of them dying still a really bad outcome.
Yeah.
And my first thoughts were eat his arm.
Oh.
And
Okay.
So like put a tourniquet on, cut his arm off and eat his arm, keep him
Well,
alive.
no, because then he's just going to die of infection, isn't he? You're not going to
Yeah.
keep that arm good. You don't know how much longer you're going to be out there.
Just chewing on it, like holding its hand, like a chicken leg.
You could do funny skits with it as well. Whoa! Like waving out the side of the boat. Who's that over there?
What
Point with it.
in the discussion that they have at Harvard, one of them said that if he'd given his consent to it,
Yeah.
then it would have made it okay.
Yeah. Yeah, like, it's not okay that they killed him. But if I'd have been in that boat, I know for a fact I would have eaten him too, you know?
I think that's, yeah.
Without a doubt, everyone would have eaten him.
Yeah, I think that nobody's going to be a Brooks and sitting at the other end on his thumbs.
Even
going,
Brooks gave in to it, you
Exactly.
know? You're like... I think, had the discussion arisen and I'm on that boat, right? And they're like, somebody needs to be eaten. I probably would have been like, that's insanity. We can't eat each other. But in my head, I've been like, well, if it's going to go ahead...
Kill the boy.
Yeah, like, if
Kill
it's
the
going to go
boy.
ahead and it's not me that gets chosen, I'm totally going to eat him too. Like, you know, like, I would have been like, no, don't do it. In my head, like, yeah, do it. Like,
Yeah, but what if it had been you that had drawn the lot? Would you have just laid down and sacrificed? Or
no, I wouldn't have. I would have gone down with a fight.
Yeah,
I know that for
yeah.
sure. I would have done a
I'd
Brooks.
have gone overboard. I'd have gone for a swim.
See ya. I would have done a Brooks, yeah, for sure. I'd have been like, no, we're not doing this. Let's sleep on it.
You could have died by shark.
Oh my god, my way.
This could have been
I
one
would've-
time.
I would have gone, right, well, if a shark swims by, then fine. I'll throw myself in. I'll get my gnarly death. You can all eat me. Win-win.
Yeah, I'm not fighting a shark for your body, though.
I suppose you have to take on the shark.
Shark's not hungry anymore. Yeah. I know, because there's loads of things that play in my head when I was thinking about it. It was like, have they made a proper attempt at fishing? Like,
Well, they caught a turtle. That's pretty successful.
yeah, so they've got a knife, clearly.
Yeah.
So use some of the turtle meat to, like, get fish in and catch them.
Can that work?
I've no idea. I've never been stranded at sea for 18 days.
No. Would want to see you and Wilson giving it a good go,
I
Tom
would,
Hanks over here.
I would definitely have a volleyball with me, that's for sure.
No, right. So if the questions are, is it murder? Yeah, it's murder. You killed somebody. It's murder. Doesn't matter what your reason for doing it is. You killed somebody.
Right, okay.
Murder. Is it moral? No. Because it's a total selfish kill, that was.
Okay.
If he'd consented and if Brooks had drawn the straw and he'd gone, right, fine, I guess I'm going to die. I don't really want to, but if that's what's going down, fine, you know, then it's like more moral because he wasn't that upset about dying.
Yeah.
But you didn't kill the guy who pulled the short straw. You killed the sick boy, which is probably the best idea you could have had because he's going to die anyway.
Yep.
So fuck it, let's just eat him. Fine. But it's still not moral because you murdered somebody, so it's immoral.
So I'm putting you in this scenario now. You're now the jury. What's your
Oh, okay.
What's
like my verdict? What what are we sentencing? What are we asking them? Murder? Is that what you're asking?
Well, I suppose it.
Oh, I just decide. I'm going to call it. It's not manslaughter, is it? I'm going to call it murder. I'm going to be
Right.
like, you're all guilty of murder. Or actually, whoever penknifed him in the neck, you're guilty of murder.
Right.
The rest of you were accessory to the crime.
Okay.
Because you didn't stop him. You could have. And then you all ate him too. So you're all definitely accessory to the crime of murder. But I don't think that you should be punished as harshly as a normal murderer should be. Because, like, I totally get your plight.
Right, okay.
That's where I'd go.
Right.
I'd be like, you're guilty of murder, you're all accessory, maybe like, I don't know, just like a really shitty punishment, like, nah, none at all. You survived at sea, good job.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So what actually happened? They were taken to Falmouth by the German ship, and they were dropped off on the 6th of September, having spent 5 weeks-ish on the German boat. On arrival... and
Actually,
okay.
the fact it's only been a week, right, that you've not eaten... I don't... See, if it'd been a month,
Yep.
no punishment.
You're
You'd be
dead.
like,
You're dead in a month, though.
Are you?
Yeah. Oh fuck yeah.
Are you?
How you just told me that you'd kill after 7 hours?
I did not. I just said I wasn't pretty after 7 hours. Because like is 7 days enough time for you to have gone like batshit at sea?
Apparently, 7 days is enough to drive you to murder.
But is he just like? Did he have it in him the whole time?
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think he was like using it as an excuse. Like, yeah, it's
I
time
don't
to
think
murder.
he was like, "Oh, cool, I'm going to sail this yacht to Australia just
No,
so I can eat a
No,
man."
that's what I'm saying. But just like, you know, some people inherently are probably much more likely to jump to murder quicker than others.
Okay, yeah.
So, like, is 7 days enough time for them to have all gone? Yeah, no, 7 days without food is quite a long time. And you're at sea and you're not drinking
And
either.
it's 5 days without
And
water.
you're exposed as well. Was it hot? Where were they? Cape.
Cape, south of Africa.
Oh, fuck, it's roasting. Yeah, you've gone crazy. Fine, no punishment.
So, they were taken to Falmouth on the German ship, and they'd almost spent 5 weeks on this boat. I was going to make a joke about that, they wouldn't have got a seat because there'd been towels on all the chairs and stuff, but I won't. It's the Germans are the worst for that.
Oh my god.
Getting worse. Roslyn keeps telling me that my dad jokes are getting worse.
I don't even think that was a dad joke.
Maybe I just need to stop. Just stop.
No, that's it.
So they arrive at the docks and they were taken to see the customs officers and the harbour police, with Dudley thinking that he would be protected under a custom of the sea.
Ooh.
So basically, it's okay to partake in agreed cannibalism as an act of survival. And there are cases that have been used in kind of legal... There's a legal precedent for if you're part of a... Without going into them too much, because I was going to start talking about the different cases that they use to kind of compare this to, but that required looking at like 3-4 more cases. But basically the gist of it is if you're part of a shipwreck, you can eat the bodies.
Oh, if they're already dead.
Yeah. So the act of cannibalism is okay if you haven't committed the murder.
Okay.
And that's a really
okay.
simplified version of it. So anybody listening, don't shout at me. But yeah, as an act of survival only, because cannibalism is obviously illegal in Britain anyway. However, having been taken to this, the sergeant of the harbour police quizzed Dudley on the means of Parker's death. And the one thing I would say is Dudley and Stevens were completely straight with everybody they spoke to. This is what happened. We were on the boat.
Shit got wild.
Yeah, it got mad, and we said a prayer for him and killed him and ate him. So the sergeant took the knife to inspect it, just as that's technically the murder weapon. We'll take that away and have a look at it. So during this time, word had been sent to London to the prosecution and all that kind of stuff to say this is kind of what happened and this is what they're saying and all that kind of stuff. And the men were making plans to go back to their family as they believed that this custom of the sea basically pardoned them. But they received word back from the Register General of Shipping in London that they would be detained for trial. They were taken to trial on the 6th of November, which is a couple of months later. And at this point, the public sympathy had kind of gotten behind them, like, just kind of what you've said. yes, it was murder, but they did it to stay alive. And there's a record of Parker's brother shaking their hands, as an act of forgiveness. And I've kept where I found that, because there's only one source I found that actually said that, so I'm kind of a bit dubious about that, because it's a very speculative thing to say. But the Crown itself was determined to prosecute them. The trial was a tricky one, because the only witnesses to the crime were the men themselves, and they'd never really hidden what they did. So you'll have noticed, however, that the case is that of Dudley and Stevens, not Dudley, Stevens and Brooks. The reason for that is the prosecution, in this case the Crown, had said that they didn't plan...
Well... Yeah,
no, go on.
Is it because he didn't kill him and he didn't he was like, no, I don't think we should do this. And then, because he ate him though, but it was the act of eating a body that you've not murdered, so it was excusable by the sea.
I hadn't actually thought about that. But yeah, I mean, possibly that
It's like you've just eaten a corpse.
Yeah, because when he came to the body was dead.
Yeah.
He didn't... Yeah, no, that's... Yeah, the other two partook in it. I actually never thought of that. That's... Yeah, it could be. Because the prosecution basically said, we are not going to offer any evidence against him, and we recommend that he is released without charge.
I think that's fair.
And they did that, and then they called him as a witness in the prosecution, for the prosecution. Bit of a shitty move, but apparently he gave testimony for and against.
Oh, okay.
So he basically said his story twice, and it wouldn't have changed, because, like I say, they did not hide what they'd done. So there's a bit of a difference here, because the jury were asked to come back against. So they were given all the facts, and they were given the story, and they were like, "We're asking you not to give a verdict. We'd like you to come back with a special verdict." Now, up until the 1770s-ish, a special verdict was quite a common thing. Like, we'll ask you not to judge on that, so we'll send it to a higher court, and the court will pass judgment on the facts. And that's what they did in this case. Now, I reckon that that's because the public were massively on the side of the sailors. So, are the jury going to give a fair representation of facts against the law? Probably not. It's that whole thing with, do you know this guy?
Yeah, have you seen anything on telly, blah, blah, blah.
Can you find a fair jury? Probably not. So they were asked to return a special verdict, and this would ensure the case was sent to a higher court and remove the jury from making a decision, essentially. So the jury came back with a special verdict, with a statement along the lines of, if the men hadn't eaten Parker, then all four of them would have died before they'd been rescued. So the killing of the weakest was the only option for any of them to survive. That's me paraphrasing the kind of what they said. So it was asked of the High Court to pass judgment on the case based on the facts, and it was seen by the Queen's Bench, which is one of the highest kind of courts, with Lord Coleridge overseeing it. They read the trial notes from the original trial and debated the facts of the case, eventually returning a guilty verdict. And they sentenced the two men to death.
Oh, no way.
The court stated that they were there to impose sentence with regards to the letter of the law. So within the letter of the law, they had committed murder and they would be sentenced to death. However, it was for those of a higher standing to show mercy. Now, when I first read that, I kind of thought, do they mean, may God have mercy on your soul?
Right.
You know, that kind of, you're going to die, but you may get mercy in a future life, in the afterlife, or whatever. But actually, the more I read on it, actually what it means is that the Queen could show mercy on you and not impose the death sentence. And it was through the public outcry that followed that the verdict, that William Harcourt, who was the Home Secretary at the time, on advice from some of the top lawyers of the day, decided to commute their sentences to what was that of essentially manslaughter.
Hey!
And convicted them to only spend 6 months in prison.
Oh, fair.
They were released on the 20th of May, 1885.
Good, I'm happy with the outcome.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think that's good.
I have a couple of thoughts on it that, the more I was reading it, like, it's one of these things that I'm like, that's an epic tale of survival.
Yeah.
And you can sing song about it and all that kind of stuff. But I am with you that it, to me, it was an act of murder, but should be taken in context for where they were.
Exactly. It's like the same way that if somebody was trying to kill you and then you killed them, I think that's fair. I don't think you should like be punished for that.
Interestingly, one of the comments I read in a blog about it, and this is quite when it sounds really daft, I'd never heard of this before, and I wanted to find a case on cannibalism, basically. And this
nice.
Yeah, I know, I'm such a lovely man.
No, I'm just jealous I hadn't thought of that first.
Sorry, one of the comments was, but it becomes premeditated when they've
planned it.
Have said the day before, we're going to kill somebody.
Yeah, but it still doesn't matter if it's premeditated. Of course it was.
But manslaughter can't be premeditated.
No, but I think it should be reduced to manslaughter because of the context, because of the crime.
Because of the scenario they were in. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter that it's of course it was. You're not going to accidentally kill... Well, it would have been quite good if you'd accidentally killed somebody on the boat and then been like, oh, fuck it, let's eat him. But you can't. Like, it has to be premeditated. Of course it does.
What's interesting is some of the reading I did into a couple of the other cases that are cited against it as a point of reference. One of them was a case in America where they did draw lots. Oh, no, sorry. They didn't draw lots. It was a case where a ship had gone down and they'd all ended up in a life raft. And there was too many people in the life raft. And basically they just started chucking the weakest overboard to try and, for the greater good. More would survive.
Oh, that's rough.
And what it came to in the American courts was, if they'd drawn lots to see who went overboard, it would have been okay. Because it would have been a lottery, essentially. Rather than going weak, keep the strong guys on for rowing the boat or whatever it happened to be. But that's why I asked you if the drawing of the lots makes it excusable.
Right. Because
that was
well, it would have been better had that been the way it gone down, but by the sounds of things, I know you said it's speculation, but by the sounds of things, Brooke got drawn, he was like, nah, then they killed the weak one.
Yeah, pretty much.
The lot thing is.
I'm not going to put my integrity on Brooks got drawn. I think he, from the sources I read, which are a few, and we will put them in the notes at the end for anybody who wants to read this, and I will put a link up. The Harvard video is amazing.
Yeah, we'll put it on.
You need to watch it. It's the guy who presents it. It's brilliant. They basically said if the drawn lots, that would have taken out, put a randomness into it, and it wouldn't have been a decision to say, I'm going to decide that you're to die, essentially. Which is that case here is Dudley's made the decision as the captain that the weak one dies. But then if he was that weak, could he have drawn a lot? It's a weird one. But I'm 100% with you.
I'm with the decision on the boat there. I think it's fine.
Murder, but needs to be taken in context.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think the Home Secretary did the right thing by essentially bowing to public pressure.
Yeah.
And revisiting it and saying, okay, well...
I think that's fair. Manslaughter is 6 months. Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same way with my case last week. 2 weeks ago now.
2 weeks ago, yeah.
Like my last one, where her sentence, Sally Challen's sentence, was reduced to manslaughter because they took into account her mental state at the time and the years of abuse she suffered, and they were like, shouldn't have done it, it's still murder, but we're going to call it manslaughter because there's like extenuating circumstances.
Yes, yeah, so
it's the same thing.
Yeah, this is a more concentrated, rather than years of abuse.
This is a terrible situation.
You're in a life and death scenario, which she felt she was as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with it.
Right, fine. Well, there you go.
That was great. I really enjoyed that.
It's one of those ones that I like. I like the story of it as well. Like,
is it not? It's Life of Pi, isn't it? Life of Pi with the boy in the boat with the tiger.
Never seen it.
What?
I've never seen it.
Well, you should. It's a great book before a great film.
Yep.
But the film is stunning to watch. You should watch it for sure. But it's the same thing with that book spoiler and film spoiler. If nobody's seen it, then stop listening for the next 10, 15 seconds. Life of Pi. Do you want me to tell you?
Yeah, go on.
Life of Pi. So the basis, is the boy in the boat with the tiger and him surviving at sea.
Big-ass tiger.
Big-ass tiger at sea with this tiger. And, like, when he first goes overboard, in his raft boat, he's got a hyena, the tiger, and an orangutan.
Right.
very quickly, the hyena is trying to kill the orangutan.
Right.
Right? As they would. You're in a boat with these 3 animals.
Yep.
So the hyena's trying to kill the orangutan, I think, from what I remember.
I think laws of nature would have said all 3 of those animals would have killed the boy.
Well, orangutans, gentle.
Yeah.
So, and also frutivores. They don't eat meat. So, the orangutan is going to be killed by the hyena, the tiger, then the boy kills the hyena. The orangutan later dies from illness or from her injuries from being attacked by the hyena or something. And then he's just left with the tiger. And it's meant, like, it's like this whole story about him surviving with this tiger and, oh, it's beautiful. And then at the end, it's meant to be actually, is that what happened? Is it these animals he was in this boat with? Or is it a metaphor for people where the orangutan is his mother and the hyena is the captain who's trying to, like, I think rape, that might be wrong, rape or murder the mother, and then the tiger is like this other guy who's like the savior kind of thing, and like becomes his friend, but also they don't really get on. It's like this. It's like, was he at sea for so long that he just finds it easier to tell the story in a metaphor with these animals than actual people? But I was thinking of that the whole time you're talking about it. Okay. Sorry.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you watch the Harvard lecture...
You should just cut that whole bit out. That was the worst synopsis of Life of Pi.
Movie reviews by Nadine.
That was the messiest summary of anything I've ever done.
I'm leaving it in.
Cool.
If you watch the Harvard lecture, I'll watch Life of Pi.
Okay, deal.
And see if they have any correlation to each other at all.
Shaking on it. Deal's been struck.
So that was the story, the Queen versus Dudley and Stevens. And I think the man that got off the lightest was probably Brooks.
Well, I don't think he got off the lightest, but I think that was fair.
He's gone through a horrible scenario though, hasn't he?
Well, it's been awful for everybody, hasn't it?
That's true.
I actually feel bad for Dudley, tell you that.
Really?
He had to kill somebody. He was the captain. It kind of probably was thrust on him. He didn't probably want to.
No.
Nope. You know, you'd hope he didn't want to. I feel sorry for him.
I don't get the impression by who he was of him being a horrible bastard. I don't.
Yeah, I feel bad for him too. Like you've had to take it into your hands and go, right, everyone's gonna die. I'm gonna have to make this crazy decision. Let's eat somebody. We're gonna eat him. Now I've got to stab him in the neck.
Takes the captain to do that. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I feel sorry for him.
Yep.
I feel sorry for everybody.
6 months in jail, I think's
fair.
Fine. Obviously
for the rest of your life, you have to remember eating human flesh. So that's a pretty harsh punishment.
I feel sorry for Parker out of all of this.
Yeah, I feel sorry, Parker.
17 or 18
Shouldn't have drank
years
that
old.
seawater, boy.
Shouldn't have drank the seawater.
Lesson to take away.
Never drink seawater. Never eat yellow snow. Never drink seawater. Don't go on a boat.
Just don't go on a boat.
I was on a boat today. Don't go on a boat. Don't go on a boat that's not supposed to be in the sea.
And then take it in the sea.
Yeah, okay, let's take a break there. That's Twisted Britain advice. Don't go on a boat that shouldn't be in the sea.
Bye.
Oh my god, I know words.
Yeah, I love etymology.
Spooky ooky. Murder.
Double murders.
Zombies. Horror is always political.
Mm-hmm. I don't like that at all.
Hi, I'm Alex, and I'm a creep.
And I'm Sunshine, her creep-enabling best friend.
Together we tackle all things horror. History, politics, science, and sociology. From zombies to serial killers.
Pomegranates and Pitchforks is a horror and true crime podcast that brings true stories and not so true stories together in beautiful and disturbing harmony.
And that's us back. Nice wee break. I got another beer.
Yep.
You got another beer there?
No, I'm driving. That's fair. Before I get going,
oh yes,
I just want to say thank you so much to everybody that was in touch with me concerning my last story about Sally Challen and coercive control and domestic abuse. It's meant the absolute world to me that so many people have been in touch to not only tell me that I'd done a good job with the story, but also to share their stories and experiences with me. And it's been quite emotional for me this past week, to be honest.
You've literally stolen what I was about to say. I was about to say, well done.
Thank you.
Because it's by far the most amount of feedback we've had on any episode.
It blew up a little bit, that one.
It was good. It was amazing. And if it carries on like that, It's been a pleasure podcasting with you. And I'm out.
It just, honestly, it kind of knocked me for six on Friday when the episode came out, because just the amount of people that got in touch with me, like through our page, through the discussion page, through Discord, and then privately as well, and people like friends as well, like just actual personal friends of mine that listened to the episode messaging me and sharing their stories and stuff. It just really kind of took me aback, and I didn't really have many words on Friday. I did a bit of crying, but also just like, just a bit overwhelming. But thank you so much, because it's honestly meant the absolute world to me to get that kind of feedback, and to have people that actually want to share their stories with me.
I was going to say, I think it's amazing that people are willing to take the time to share their stories with us, and
it's incredibly brave.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
and it's a testament to you that you can make people come and speak to us. That's obviously people feel comfortable doing it.
I do. It is. It's really touching that people trust me enough to come to me and talk to me like that. But like, also, I'm proud to say that I am the kind of person that you can come to and talk to.
Absolutely, I wouldn't disagree with that in the slightest.
Thank you. But just a big thank you and massive amounts of love to everybody.
And anytime you are listening to any of our episodes and you think, oh, I've got something that I would want to share, just do it. Don't think twice about sharing stuff with us. We're absolutely happy to read, listen, respond. And if you don't even want a response, just say, thought about this while listening to your episode, whatever it may happen to be.
It's really like pushed my feelings about the matter further, actually. So much so that I think I might actually try and like look into like volunteering and like work doing like something for Women's Aid or for like a charity of that kind of caliber, because like it is so bloody important that everybody wakes up and realizes that this happens so often, and to people that you wouldn't even know, people that you wouldn't suspect it's happening to, and it's really important. So I think I might try and do something more proactive.
Well, 10 out of 10 for you, madam.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. It was, we said at the time, it was the one that you've got the most serious about, and when we got reasonably deep on it, and I think it was one of our listeners commented to say that my thoughts on it were not, because I felt a bit bad after saying, you know, maybe she should have gone out and said something and stuff like that, and I'm saying that from a completely separate stage. Like I wouldn't, I didn't know what to say, obviously, because I don't know what you're going to talk about every week. But it was that whole. We got to the end of the episode when I stopped, hit stop on the recording and went, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. But it was really good of one of our listeners to come out and say, actually, Bob, your thoughts on it are normal, and that's. I think that's what we can continue to do is just pass. I mean, they are literally just our opinions on things. So
I'm pretty sure that most people are going to disagree with the fact that I just said that we should definitely murder somebody on a boat and eat them if it comes to it. But it is our opinions here. And
if me and you are on a boat, I will eat you.
Okay, you'll have to. I'll have to wait until I'm sleeping.
Yeah, I'll throw you to the sharks.
Do you know what I was thinking as well during that break? Is like, it's interesting that they decided to stab him with a penknife to kill him. I would have like maybe just waited until he was having a drink out the sea and just push his head underwater. If he was like quite weak, it wouldn't have taken much. I would have done it that way. Personally.
Maybe he was too far gone. And you've got a weapon, use it.
Suppose. Just seems like an awful mess.
Yeah, well. Anyway.
Shall we?
Yeah, your turn.
Okay.
Well, I'm looking forward to this. You've told me it's going to be good.
Yeah, I think so. So, this is the story of the Cock Lane Ghost. And that is not even the title I want to give it.
Okay.
I will tell you the title once I reach the appropriate point.
Right.
So, the Cock Lane Ghost was a haunting that attracted mass public attention in 1762. Are you going to laugh every time I say Cock Lane?
Yeah.
Good. The haunting happened at a lodging in Cock Lane, which is in London, and it's a short road. It's a short walk as well from St. Paul's Cathedral.
Okay.
Round the corner from London's first drinking fountain.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but it was on Google Maps.
Right.
And just next to St. Bartholomew's Hospital.
I know where you are, yeah.
Yeah, down there. This story concerns three main people. William Kent, who is a usurer, which, by the way, is a person who practices making unethical or immoral monetary loans that unfairly enrich the lender. So he's like a loan shark.
He was the original Wonga.
Yeah.
Right.
Payday, yeah. So that's William Kent. It also concerns Richard Parsons, who is a parish clerk, and his daughter Elizabeth.
Okay.
So following the death of William Kent's wife during childbirth, he became romantically involved with his late wife's sister, who's called Fanny. Okay.
Yep.
You can see where this is going.
Yeah. You're going to say cock and fanny a lot, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to try and be an adult.
You can
here.
see why I couldn't pass this story
No,
up.
you couldn't. Absolutely.
Wait until there's an even better...
Do you want me to call it Fanny on Cock Lane?
No.
Oh, okay.
There's something much better.
All right. Okay.
Fanny had moved in with the family during her sister's pregnancy. Fuck's sake. Fanny had moved in with the family during her sister's pregnancy and stayed on to look after Richard and the baby following her death. Due to canon law, Richard and Fanny were unable to marry. Oh my god, his name's Dick. Dick and Fanny. I hadn't even thought of that.
Dick and Fanny and Cock Lane.
Yep.
Right, okay.
Oh, this is going to get ridiculous. Due to canon law, Dick and Fanny were unable to marry.
We might just have to go from and
No,
that's us back.
No, I think we should just leave this all in. It's so good. They were unable to marry, but following the death of the baby, they moved to London together and took up lodgings in several London residences before eventually arriving at a property in Cock Lane. This property was owned by Richard Parsons, who was the clerk at a local church, but who was also known as a drunk and as a person struggling to provide for his family. Several accounts of strange knocking sounds and ghostly apparitions were reported, although for the most part they stopped after the couple moved out. The noises first started whilst William was away on business, and Elizabeth, who is the eldest Parson daughter, who owned the building, stayed with Fanny as she was several months pregnant at this point. After investigating whether the scratching and rapping noises that the two had heard could have been attributed to the cobbler next door, it wasn't, they decided it was definitely a ghost.
Definitely, Zab.
Definitely a ghost.
Right, okay.
Another witness, who is the landlord of the nearby public house called the Wheat Sheaf, add it to our pub tour of Britain,
Okay.
had visited the lodgings and saw a white apparition ascending the stairs, which Richard Parson said he saw too.
Yeah.
The ghost was thought to be Fanny's late sister and William's ex-wife, haunting them. Fanny...
What was her name? Boobies?
It was Elizabeth, but I'm not going to... Tits. It was Elizabeth as well, but I'm not going to refer to her as Elizabeth because there's already Elizabeth Parson and that's too confusing. Maybe Lizzie. I'll call her Lizzie.
Lizzie, okay.
So Lizzie the ghost. Fanny and William moved out of the lodgings as she was soon to give birth, but shortly after, Fanny died from smallpox. Stop laughing. Later, William would seek legal action against the Parsons for an outstanding balance that Richard owed to him from a previous loan, because he was an usurer, whatever. William was successful in winning his case, and it was around this time that the Parsons claimed that it was in fact Fanny's ghost which was now haunting their property along with her sister.
Right, okay.
On account of the regular scratching noises that were heard within the property, the ghost was named Scratchin' Fanny.
Scratchin' Fanny.
I want this story to be called The Haunting of Cock Lane, Scratchin' Fanny. Something along those lines.
Cock Lane Fanny Scratcher.
Fanny Scratcher. Cock Lane Fanny Scratcher.
Right, yep, fine.
I couldn't pass this up, especially when I got to the part about scratching Fanny. I was honestly pissing myself.
As long as you didn't have a scratching Fanny, you're fine.
So when the Kents had moved out, another lodger had taken up the residence at Cock Lane, but had moved out when the noises, which were intermittent but were becoming more frequent, wouldn't stop. The noises were described as sounding like a cat scratching a chair, which is pretty specific.
Yeah, there's a very, you could say it sounds like scratching, but specifically to say a cat scratching a chair.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was a cat scratching a chair.
No, they didn't have a cat. No pussy on Cock Lane.
Honest, you're a terrible human, you know that.
You love it. It was a commonly held belief that hauntings were caused by the dead coming back to warn the living. Richard and the local preacher who he got involved decided that the two ghosts must have an important message to share.
Yep.
According to the Parsons, the ghosts claimed, through a communication system which involved them knocking once for yes, twice for no, that Fanny had been poisoned with arsenic, and that's how she died, not due to smallpox.
Right, okay.
It was thought that this was why her sister had started haunting them back in the beginning, because she was there to warn Fanny of her impending death. It was also rumoured that William had probably murdered his first wife too.
Right. So he's not a nice guy then.
Well, that's what the ghosts are saying.
So the ghosts were calling him. He was a ghostly bad bastard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The first ghost inexplicably disappeared, but the two churchmen continued to question the ghost of Fanny, scratching Fanny. A clergyman from the Methodist Church, a man called Moore, also attended the property and left convinced that the ghost was real. The story spread quickly through London and was picked up by the Public Ledger, which, by the way, is one of the world's longest-running magazines.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And all of this talk eventually led William to be suspected of murder by the public. Everyone was talking about it.
So the ghost had accused him.
Yeah.
And then people believed the ghost.
Yeah.
Okay.
They'd moved out, so Fanny had then died of smallpox, but then apparently had started haunting Cock Lane, and through a series of knocks told them that she'd been poisoned with arsenic.
Right, okay.
It's no Ouija board, but... So a seance was held by Moore at the request of William Kent, where Richard Parsons' daughters were publicly undressed and then put to bed, because this is where they most often heard the noises. It was the daughters that were now reporting the noises.
What? Do we know what age they were?
No.
No. Just a public undressing sounds
Yep.
a horrific thing to do to somebody.
Yep.
And
it was in an effort to prove that they weren't behind the noises.
What, to remove those knocking pajamas they were wearing?
I know, it's so bad, isn't it?
It's really horrible, yeah.
A crowd watched and waited for the ghosts, but when nothing happened, a relative of the Parsons ran around the room shouting, "Fanny, Fanny, why don't you come? Do come, pray, Fanny, come, dear Fanny, come."
Oh, you're not allowed to do this to me. That's not fair. I might have to change the podcast to being, you have to tell me what you're going to do beforehand. Right, come on, Fanny, tell us.
Do pray, Fanny, do come. Moore accused the group of being too loud and scaring off the ghost of Fanny, but she did later communicate with them, and she told the group that William had killed her and he would be hung for his crime.
Right.
So,
okay.
the way it went was along the lines of, "Fanny, were you murdered? Was it by your husband? Was it by poison? Will he be hung for his crime?"
Right. Good,
That was about it.
Good role play there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The ghost went on to follow Elizabeth Parson even when she moved home, but when asked, declined to appear in court against William. That's the ghost, by the way. They asked the ghost if she would appear in court to tell the court that she'd been murdered. But she declined. No thanks. She
Nah.
says, no, I'm good.
Will you appear in court?
Yeah.
There you go.
Nice. So regular seances were held, and Cock Lane was often flocked to by locals and bypassers who wanted an encounter with the ghost, who apparently didn't disappoint and quite often would communicate with these people. The street outside would be so busy that you couldn't pass it by, that you couldn't get down Cock Lane.
You couldn't run down Cock Lane to hear Fanny knocking. Is that what you're telling me?
Telling you that you couldn't get down the cock, no.
You're such a terrible human. We should also put in here that Fanny is a lady's front bottom for those that are not British.
Yeah, in Scotland, quite often.
I mean, you are a Fanny.
That's nice of you. Her name was Frances, but everyone called her Fanny.
Yeah.
So the street outside would be so busy that you couldn't pass it by. And also, Parson was charging entry fees to those wishing to talk with the ghost, of course.
Would you like to come into Cock Lane and give me some money?
Would you like to talk to my Fanny?
Oh, dear. No, thanks.
A commission whose members included Samuel Johnson, who is often referred to...
Johnson. You're making all this up.
I'm not. I promise. I've got references.
I hope so, because I do not believe you.
I'm telling you. I didn't even clock onto the Johnson one. so this is ridiculous. Samuel Johnson, who is often referred to as Dr. Johnson, and is one of the most long-lasting influences in the English literary world, I'll have you know.
Well, long-lasting Johnson.
It writes itself, this does. This commission decided that the haunting was fraudulent and ordered further investigations to be carried out. Elizabeth Parsons was tested relentlessly. Like, see, everything I was reading was like Elizabeth was taken here, she was tested, she was taken there, she was tested, test. Like, they were just like constantly testing this girl.
For proof, like they would think.
Yeah, because the ghost was following her even when she lived elsewhere.
I mean, were they testing her to see if it was a ghost, or were they testing her to see if it was her?
Yeah, that.
To see if it was her.
Yeah, to see if it was fraudulent.
Right, okay.
So she was tested relentlessly, and she was eventually caught out. So Elizabeth, do you want to know how?
So Lizzie was Fanny?
No, Lizzie, we were calling Lizzie the other dead wife.
Oh, sorry. So
this is Elizabeth Parsons.
Was Fanny the ghost?
Yeah.
Right.
Elizabeth was scratching Fanny. So Elizabeth was put in a hammock to sleep, to see if the noises would continue, and they did. And then they got her to put both her hands and both her feet outside of the hammock, and strangely, the noises didn't happen that night.
Funny that, isn't it? Yeah.
Funny, isn't it? And then the maids, who were looking after Elizabeth and stuff, told the investigators that they'd seen her hide a small piece of wood on her body, which was what she was using to make the knocking and scratching noises on from her bed.
Right, okay.
So it was decided that she had been responsible the whole time, but it was definitely under pressure from her father. Because he was making money off of it.
Oh, of course he was, you're right.
And also, he also got the sweet deal that he said that William had murdered his wife, and he owed him money and stuff, so he's obviously sore about that.
Right.
So yeah, so obviously Richard had quite a lot to gain from making his daughter Elizabeth carry out this facade that there was a haunting, because not only was he making money off of the hordes of people that were coming, but also I think it probably originally started as like a revenge to William, who had sought legal action against him to get this money that he owed him.
Right, yeah.
And like that wouldn't have done wonders for his reputation.
No.
And stuff, and also for his pockets. So I think he probably started it as revenge, like, oh, your wife's haunting my house, and also she says that you murdered her, actually, to try and, disgrace William.
So he must have coached the daughter then to answer the questions the way he wanted it.
Presumably.
Yeah.
So then Moore, as well, the man that was helping conduct all the seances and stuff, quite often he'd say to the people that were there to watch, oh, you've scared her away because you're too loud, like, leave the room. And then they'd all leave the room, and then he'd, like, stamp on the floor to signal that the ghost was back and talking, and they'd all come back in the room, and then
so
suddenly...
he's had a quick word with the daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Poor
girl.
Yeah. Quite bad. So, they were all prosecuted, the people that were involved. So I think in total there were 5 people. I'm not sure who the others were. There was so much information on this, I've just cut it down as much as I could.
Just insert another penis joke here and assume that that's who the other person is.
Yeah. So they were all prosecuted, and after only 15 minutes of deliberation, they were found guilty by a jury.
Yeah.
So I can't remember exactly what they were found guilty of, but it was pretty much like defaming William is like what they were being found guilty of, and also
and fraudulently obtaining money from people
exactly.
and all that. Yeah, absolutely.
So out of everybody, Richard Parsons was the most severely punished, and he was pilloried, which is when you are put in a set of stocks. I got saved a photo for you. It's when you're put in a set of stocks that are like on a stick. So there's a hole for your head to go through and your hands to go through.
Like your classic lock you up outside.
Yeah.
Town square type stocks.
So it's public, and that's exactly what they did. It's like for public humiliation.
Yeah.
And also
throw cabbages at them and that kind of stuff.
And often they would actually, like, members of the public were allowed to just like abuse you, really.
Terrible.
Yeah. But apparently the public were actually quite kind to Richard and actually like started a fund going for him. I don't know why they liked him so much.
They did a crowdfunder for his holidays.
Yeah, it felt bad for him. But he was pilloried, it's called. And he was pilloried on 3 separate days. So it's quite like a harsh sentence.
For 3 days in a row?
No,
or just on 3 separate days? Right.
And then he was also sentenced to 2 years in prison.
Oh, right, okay. I would have assumed that he would have been sentenced to one or the other.
No, both. 3 days pilloried, 2 years prison.
Right, okay.
The Cock Lane ghost is quite frequently referenced in contemporary literature, the most notable of which is Charles Dickens, who has made reference to the ghost a couple of times, I believe, and the artist William Hogarth has referenced the ghost in 2 of his prints, my favourite of which is one called Superstition and Fantasism, which I will share on our social media, because it's really, I'll show you just now.
Some art.
It's really cool, I thought.
Oh, that is cool,
It's a fantastic
Yeah, that is really cool, actually, yeah.
And then apparently the ghost is just... where is it? There she is. She's like in this little bit here, knocking on the wall.
Okay, yeah.
There she is there. So
maybe do a wee screenshot of it zoomed in.
Yeah, will do, or circle it or something. But my favourite part of this piece of art is this woman here on the ground who has rabbits running out of there.
Out of her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Neither of us could do that there. Did you notice that? Well done.
There's definitely a joke there about rampant rabbits.
Oh, I knew you were going to do it. You couldn't leave that alone, could you?
So, that is the story of Scratching Fanny on Cock Lane. Also, I want to add a little note that at the start I slightly got confused with all the different names and said that Richard and Fanny, Dick and Fanny couldn't get married, but that was wrong because Richard Parsons was the clerk. What I meant to say was William and Fanny, which again can still be funny, to Willie and Fanny couldn't get married.
Thank you for clearing up how that could be funny.
You're welcome.
I can't take you seriously when you make that many cock jokes in one story. And I also love that you've gone from what was the most serious story that you possibly could have done last week to just talking for 20 minutes about genitalia jokes.
We needed some comic relief.
We did need some comic relief. And that is why I love you, Nadine.
I love you.
We've absolutely no idea what's going to come out of your mouth.
I hardly do, to be honest. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't even do that on purpose. I was just genuinely looking for a story.
No, you were looking all the way through that like, oh, Richard. I was like, yeah, and...
I didn't even... There was so many I didn't even pick up until I started saying them out loud. But yeah, I was just looking for a story and was looking at famous English hauntings, and I came across that quite innocently.
Oh, really? Because I thought your search history might have said, like, Fanny Ghost or Cock Ghost.
No, I promise. I was on a list.
I'm pretty sure if I look through your history, that's in there somewhere.
Look away, sir. But I'm telling you, I was on a list of famous hauntings in Britain, and I was scrolling down this alphabetized list, and one of the hauntings was called the Cock Lane Ghost, and I went, that's funny, Cock Lane. Little did I know that it was going to be full of such hilarity.
Horrible filth.
Fanny, Dick and Willie.
I'd like to apologise to all of our listeners for Nadine's foul mouth this evening. I
wasn't being foul. I was telling the story as it was.
Well, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you.
I hope you have also enjoyed listening to us this evening. We will resume normal status next week, which normal status could be anything, if I'm to be honest. But we're going to take a moment now to give a quick shout out to our most recent Patreons.
So thank you very much to Karis S.
Thank you very much to Liam M.
And that's it this week.
Oh,
just two this week to do a shout out for. Thank you very much,
guys. Thanks for becoming part of our lovely small group of Patreons. I hope you're enjoying our Patreon only episodes. If you would like to also listen to our Patreon only episodes, we have an episode comes out on the 15th of every month that is us not doing our normal long story, short story. We're just doing something that's interested us that we found that week that we haven't done for our normal Twisted Britain episodes. Mm-hmm. If you'd like to listen to them, you can join us on Patreon. All of our tiers get access to our extra episodes.
You also get a little badge.
You get a wee badge.
A little handwritten card with our thumbprints in. Yeah,
but you have to promise not to use crime.
Don't incriminate us, please.
So yeah, if you'd like to hear some more of us, please do look us up. You can find us just by going on to Patreon and searching for Twisted Britain. If you would like to join us in any other way, we are on all of the social media sites, of course. We are on Facebook,
Twisted Britain.
We're on Twitter,
Twisted Britain.
And we're on Instagram,
Twisted Britain.
You can also join our lovely discussion group on Facebook, which is
Twisted Britain Discussion Group.
growing more and more all the time. Thank you for all of you that are taking part in that. It's nice to chat amongst you.
You can also join us on Discord.
You can, and the way to join us on Discord is it's a server that's hosted specifically for independent podcast creators, and the way that you can do that is you find us. Find it through our social media channels.
It's pinned all over the place. I've shared it a couple of times over the last week, so you should be able to find it pretty easily. If you do want to join Discord and you can't find that link, drop us a message.
Yeah,
we'll link you right up.
We'll give you a link.
If you want to support us another way, we also sell merch.
We do. I'm currently wearing my Twisted Britain hoodie.
Covered in toothpaste.
I have a toddler, come on. This is not my toothpaste, I'd like to say.
Mm-hmm. Makes it worse, maybe.
No, because he's 2.5. He can drop toothpaste on me.
Yeah, okay.
If I was dropping it out of my own mouth, that would be worse.
Actually, yeah, that's fair.
Thanks very much, everybody, for listening this evening. If you get a chance and you've listened and you've liked what you've heard, the best way for Twisted Britain to grow more and more and more is ratings and reviews, and we would always love you to go on to whatever podcast provider you choose to listen to us on and drop a wee 5-star rating and review in there. We've had some really nice ones recently, and it's always lovely to hear them, so thank you very much for that.
And that's us, I think.
I think that probably
Have you
is.
Reloaded the special button?
I haven't. I've been away with work, so I haven't had a chance to record with him, but we're doing it tomorrow. We're having
Lovely.
a baby, mummy, daddy podcast day.
Cute. Well, then, from us, instead of lovely, lovely Angel Boy Isaac, thank you, love you, bye.
Thank you, love you, bye.
Watch out for ghosts.